And now, Dr. Krygier's lecture program starts right now.
Here's our daily supplement protocol that we always recommend out of the office. Everybody's like, you know what? I don't know where to start. Okay, I don't know what to start. I don't know what to do. The best thing you could do would be to start on this program. It has all your basic essential vitamins, minerals. It's got just about everything you need. It's a basic protocol. So it's important. And we're going to be talking about the last one on here today that has to do with Vitanox and how it affects your health. Biomeridian testing, we just integrated that into the office. It's going to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Biomeridian has to do with the meridian or electrical field of the body. So there's different meridian pathways, whether they're overactive, underactive. This is the machine that picks it up and breaks it down into different systems for you. It tells you how your skin is, how your locomotive or musculoskeletal, or your digestion, or your cardiovascular, or your glandular system, which is your endocrine system. So it kind of tries to break down and give you a clue, because everybody's trying to optimize their health, and this is a perfect machine to add on and try to get a little bit more specific and try to clear some of those fields, because everything's electrochemical in the body. And before a chemical reaction occurs, you have an electrical reaction. So a lot of times that can tell you ahead of time what might be coming down in the future. Then it gives you a little grading. There's a 5 to 6 grade level at the top of the page, and tells you where, based on the output and the point, where it would place you and what you need to work on. Okay? So that would be very, it's not good just to walk in and say, oh, I want a biomeridian, but it's something that after you've seen Dr. Ten or I, and you're working on something, it might enhance what you're doing. And this is one of the things that showed every time we do one of these, everybody's digestion shows. Okay? And it's not just the user itself, because we have different people that use the machine. So when your digestion shows that much, and I'm looking at these, I'm like, okay, you got digestion. I feel like I'm, a tape recorder. This is what you need to do. So that's one of the ways that I have found that people really need to support their different 3 digestive organs, and I'm going to talk about those. Here's the lecture videos. They're available at the office. We don't charge them. We just ask that you bring them back after 4 weeks. If you don't bring them back, we will charge you. Okay, so a month is pretty adequate. We get a lot of feedback from them. People love them. They send them to their friends. It's a good tool for me because it gives me patience. People understand what I'm talking about. They know what type of practice we have, and they know what type of things we can help and what we can't help. Okay. Now, everybody, hopefully everybody watched the Tigers and the Cardinals. Okay, this was, I wanted to talk about this because, just using a little background knowledge, most people wouldn't have picked this up. But when I was watching this game, this is a lot of times what happens to people in the change of seasons, or in athletes, or in people that have blood disorders. But this pitcher here, what happened was he was pitching, and in order for you to throw a curveball, you got to hold your thumb very awkwardly on that ball, and you got to hold that position there, and then as you come over, you got to release that. Okay? This pitcher right here had a problem where his thumb kept on cramping up. It just kept on locking up. So I see the trainer walk out there, and they're trying to fix his thumb. They're trying to do all kinds of stuff. It's perfect. He doesn't have any pain at all. No pain, but he's got a problem. So I thought to myself, I said, well, what do you think might be the problem? So in my own knowledge and experience, I believe that he had what's called writer's cramp, that a lot of times we get. I've had it shoveling, landscaping your hand. You got to pry your hand over. You're like, my goodness, it's locked. Well, what happens is this pitcher's been through changes in weather. This has been cold, it's been rainy. When you change the viscosity of the blood at all, you can't push calcium into the tissue. And calcium, and if you can't push it in the tissue, it can't leave the tissue either from already inside of the tissue. So actually what was happening was this pitcher had a phosphorus deficiency. He lost his phosphorus because of his viscosity. And he was cramping up because the calcium was precipitating and locking that muscle in place. He had a little, what's called rigor mortis. Everybody thinks of rigor mortis in the forensics when you die and you clench up. But that's what was happening to his thumb because that was the most overused part of his body that he has to hold in that position. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'd call it probably the cramp ball now, but and so when people walk into the office and say, God, my legs get tight, they cramp up. I get that twitch in my eye. When I hold my pen and I'm working at the office, my hand kind of cramps up. Those are all phosphorus deficiencies. So if I was at that game and allowed on that field, they would have had 1 dropper of phos food, put in some water, carried out, drank, and the instant that would have cleared right up. It's that quick. Okay, when you have cramps, people at night that have cramps, older people, their viscosity changes a little bit. They precipitate calcium. They get the arthritises, the neuritises, different joint things. That would definitely have helped in that situation. Also, another thing I noticed, because I'm always trying to think and apply, what you learn, but we had a lot of awful pitching errors. Okay. I thought, man, what could a pitching error, how could these professional baseball players have 4 mistakes, throwing it over the third baseman's and the first baseman's head? I'm thinking, well, the only way that could probably happen, nerves. I would say nerves. Everybody gets nervous, but that's in the middle of the game. You're in it. You don't even think about the crowd. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But I thought, well, this might be a little mild form of ADD, attention deficit disorder. When that pitcher is throwing that ball and he's chucking that thing and he's focused and he's whipping that thing, his focus and concentration has to be over that plate. Okay? That has to do with your dopamine centers up in your brain. Now, the medical profession does things like put kids on Ritalin, Concerta. There's a bunch of different medications out there, but all those are basically doing is operating on the dopamine center so we can get our kid to stop climbing over the wall and losing his focus to get him to focus. But what happens is when your nerves kick in, you can't disengage that part of your brain and manually pull yourself out of that and throw the ball. So they got stuck in that specific dopamine pathway, and they didn't practice enough to adjust to it. So, because I've never seen that happen, watching games ever in the World Series from pitchers. So that's probably why they threw it over, because they couldn't disengage their brain. So that has to do with their dopamine levels in their brain. I thought this was kind of odd. I was reading this. This was on yahoo.com. And this is Sheryl Crow. I guess she's a health advocate, and she's putting out some information here just to read it. But it says that we are lucky to have a wonderful chef named Pia, which is great. She met with my nutritionist, Rachel Baer, to find out some great ways to fortify the body and at the same time incorporate cancer preventative measures. My oncologist set me up with Rachel shortly after I was diagnosed. Rachel is at the forefront of nutritional studies in the area of disease prevention. Here are some good tips you can incorporate. These are great tips. I like these tips. Okay, these are the type of tips I talk about in our lectures. Don't drink water from a bottle that has been sitting in your car. Heated plastic will bleed toxic substances that can be carcinogenic. And then don't heat or freeze in plastic. Heat in glass containers, and then don't cook in olive oil at high heat. This too is carcinogenic. It is fine to saute in olive oil, but you are browning or frying use canola oil. Cinnamon and turmeric are spices that are cancer preventatives, particularly for prostate and colon cancer. Now I read this, and I said to myself, I said, what month is it? It's breast cancer month, right? October's breast cancer month. You're supposed to wear your pink ribbon.
It's November.
October, well, when this article, if you look, yesterday was, the whole month was breast cancer month. So I thought to myself, I said, well, Sheryl Crow had breast cancer. I said, why didn't they give some tips on breast cancer? Because this is the month to say it, and you're trying to prevent it. But she never said anything about breast cancer. But prostate and colon cancer are preventatives. You can use cinnamon and turmeric. And that's why I passed out this sheet here. If you want to look at that, this is a product we have out of the office that is called Vitanox. Vitanox. Vitanox is turmeric. Vitanox is rosemary. Vitanox is green tea. Okay? So you got all three of those in one that you could do something to prevent breast cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer. Well, how does it do that? Well, there's certain situations in the body where your body has a tough time converting chemicals to neutral chemicals, or good estrogens, or bad estrogens to good estrogens. It also helps, if you read the article, it also helps some of the inflammation. And inflammation is a big issue these days because without it, our body wouldn't heal. And also with too much of it, it causes a lot of diseases. So there's a balance there that this does a great job with. It also helps with killing cells, bad cells in your body in certain phases of growth. Okay? It also enhances immunity. It raises your T helper cells that help with your immune system, which is very, very important. It also stops angiogenesis. You don't want blood vessels growing in certain areas. So curcumin, which they mention here, or turmeric, the spice, is what we have out of the office, and when we put people on for prevention of breast cancer, prostate, colon, just basic, even before you have anything, if you have it, you should go on it anyway. Okay? So it does so many different things. So I thought it was kind of ironic she wasn't talking about breast cancer when yet she had breast cancer, and it was a breast cancer month that her Taking Charge article came out, because most of the breast cancer has to do with abnormal estrogens in the body. And she's talking about plastic hair, but she never mentions anything about the breast cancer itself. That's kind of odd. Here's the Vitanox that I mentioned. Vitanox. That's the one that has the curcumin, the turmeric, has the green tea, holy basil. It's got that combination to help with those things that are in that article. And then the green tea is on the back. Mentions everything on green tea, extracts, wholesale, everything. Here's all the research journals. So great, great combination of products for prevention, especially if you're in the hair industry, where you're messing with all those chemicals. Or, you work in the, at Home Depot in the fertilizer section. Or you work in the paint section. So there's different ways you can apply this that you don't even realize that you're getting certain exposures to environmentally that will definitely clear your liver and help in different areas. All right, influenza. Say no to the flu shot. Okay, I'm not for the flu shot. Okay, there's different opinions out there. My opinion is that I'm not supportive of it at all. And the reason I'm not supportive of it at all is I pulled this article out here. This talks in microbiology. It says that influenza spread is spread by aerosols, and if you go down here, death from primary influenza infection is very rare and appears to be determined by host factors rather than the virulence of the virus. So them changing it up every year, and we need to get this in here, and we're short this year, and all the nonsense that's going on that we depend on the health profession. I don't depend on them. And neither should you, because I don't believe the science is there as much as they say it is. The reason I'm suspicious is because dying from influenza is very rare. I think there was only less than 1,000 cases last year. That's not a lot compared to what they take influenza and they take the pneumococcal or the pneumonia numbers and they stick them together. Pneumococcal is probably the biggest one in the tens of thousands. But yet, when they exaggerate the issue, all of a sudden that number gets used or they reduce it down. Influenza is only probably maybe 1/100th or 1/1000th of this disease. So damage to respiratory epithelium predisposes to secondary bacterial infections with account for most deaths. Now, I wouldn't really know what to use unless I had a certain experience in doing research, what you could use to help fight against the flu or any other type to make your system stronger, okay? And I didn't realize this till I had 2 females come in, and I do a lot of the female issues, the pregnancy, the PMS, the menopause, the fibrocystic breast, the insulin resistance. I mean, it just goes on and on. But the main thing I learned from that was that I had 2 female patients that couldn't get pregnant. We tried 3 or 4 different things. I said, man, I don't know what's going on here. So I did a little research on my own, and I found that they haven't been sick. They can't remember the last time they were sick. Their immune system is working so well that they can't get pregnant. And this is information that they don't want you to know. Okay? So I'm thinking, well, wait a second here. Why is their immune system? When they have their natural killer cells tested, they're higher than any other ones. Their natural killer cells are your predominant natural immunity to anything around you. They go and scavenge. They're called null cells. They're made up of the cells in your... They're so important, they're made up a third of your liver is full of those null cells or natural killer cells. So I was thinking, man, they never get the flu shot. They never get sick. I'm like, this is crazy. Well, why is this? So in order for them to get pregnant, and I know this because when you're pregnant, your immune system gets suppressed. Okay, most females know that. Because when they catch a cold, it's not going to take 3 or 4 days or a week to get over. It's going to take you 3 to 4 weeks to get over because your immune system's suppressed. Okay? So in order for those 2 females to get pregnant, they had to go and get their immune system suppressed. They had to lower their natural killer cells in their body or they would never get pregnant. So you could take that same principle and apply it every single fall when they're crying and complaining, you better get your flu shot. You could take something to get your natural killer cells up. And I'll tell you, the natural killer cells, people come in, they say, I've been doing chemotherapy, I've been doing cancer stuff, I've been doing autoimmune stuff, you know, I don't feel any better. I said, listen, I said, if you get your natural killer cell test, it'll tell you if you're going to make it through your cancer or you have a good chance of feeling better. Because if your natural killer cells are low, you ain't going to feel good at all and you might not even make it. Your chances are very slim and none. That's how important they are. This is the flu shot right here that they're trying to get everybody in the grocery store to take, I guess. But what bothers me is there's all the different strains. It doesn't matter on the strain. It matters on your immune system, how strong your immune system is. All these chemicals in here. The vaccine is formulated without preservatives. Thimerosal is used at an early stage of manufacture and is removed by subsequent purification steps to trace amount less than 1 microgram of mercury per dose. A couple years ago, it used to be 25 micrograms of mercury. 25. That's way over the EPA. So that's where the research comes. If you get 5 flu shots, your chances of getting Alzheimer's or any neurological disease, because mercury is the second toxic substance out of all of nature. Plutonium's first. So none of that belongs in your body. So you think just a trace ain't going to make that big of a deal? Man, if you break your thermometer in the sink, I guarantee that they'll have people over at your house taking your sink and dragging it away, putting it in a bag and making sure everybody... I mean, this is crazy stuff. This is a double standard, literally, with the amount of mercury in our mouth, the amount of mercury exposed. Everybody's like, well, I get that from fish anyway. Well, you don't get it intentionally from a professional. So there's the stages of a little bit of mercury in there, and then it doesn't contain any preservatives, but it's got a little bit of cortisone, a little bit of gentamicin, which is antibiotic, a little bit of ova-albumin, egg. I thought formaldehyde was a preservative. I don't know about you, but that's what they used in frogs and you know, to try to... Formaldehyde does not belong in your body. Sodium deoxychocolate. So this is ridiculous. So they got a bunch of stuff in there that necessarily doesn't belong in your body. Here's some of the reactions: convulsions, dizziness, encephalomyelitis, facial palsy. All these people with the facial palsy is a big one. There's trigeminal neuralgia, facial palsy. I'm telling you, these viruses and these chemicals and all that, they'll go after the peripheral nerves the most. They like the sacrum and they like the face. Those 2 reasons. I don't know exactly why, but that's the areas that they're usually manifested in. And here's the Guillain-Barré syndrome that has been leaked with a vaccine. Probably 1 or 2% of everybody that gets vaccinated will end up in a wheelchair. Some will get out, some won't. Hypoesthesia, myelitis, neuritis, neuropathy. These are all neurological things. Now, I took the mercury thing and I said, well, you know, lead's been around for a while. That's not bad. They always told us that that wasn't too bad. So I looked up this, and it says, in Atlanta, say nearly 500,000 children in the United States have blood lead concentrations higher than 10 micrograms per deciliter. As evidence has accumulated about the harmful effects of lead, the acceptable amount has decreased from 60 to 30, and then 30 to 10, and then now they took it out of the gas at 15 and made it 2. You know how much lead is toxic to a kid's brain? You can't have any right now. That's the new number, 0 for your kid's brain. Here's an article on nutrition. If you just want to talk straight nutrition, researchers found that mice that consume the diet with inadequate amounts of selenium develop substantially more harmful lung inflammation than those mice that were fed a normal diet. Inflammation lasts significantly longer in a selenium-deficient mice than their counterparts that were fed selenium. What that suggested, that a deficiency in selenium altered their immune system, and so they got sicker than they would normally. It has been known for a long time, if you're malnourished, you're more susceptible to infectious diseases. Here's the IAG. This is the product. It's called isolated arabinogalactan. This is the one that raises the natural killer cells. So if you are a female and you can't get pregnant, you probably won't want to be on this product because you won't get pregnant. Raises natural killer cells 28 times after 8 weeks. So great product for this time of the month. Every time when the flu, when the pneumococcal, pneumonia stuff comes around, that's what you need your kids on. That's what you need on before you poke them or jab them in the arm. Boost your immune system during cold and flu. Okay. Here's the breakdown. At the end of here's 16 hours. You increased 1.3 to 1.5 times. After 1 week, natural killer cell activity increased 8 times, and then at the end of 8 weeks, it was 27 times more cancer cells than they were prior to taking IAG killing. So you got to put those natural killer cells to work. Here's an article that I grabbed. This one was done was at the Cornell Chronicle, and they were talking about all this genetic modified food. Here's a genetically modified cotton. I just want to give you an example of where all this genetically modified stuff is going, just so you know. Okay? Everything looks good in the forefront, but behind the scenes, things will come back to haunt you. They literally will. It says right here, it says, there's some Chinese that got this genetically modified cotton to resist bollworms, okay? They had substantial profits. They reaped for several years by saving on how many times they had to spray their pesticides. Researchers at the American Agricultural Association meeting is that other pests are now attacking the genetically modified cotton. It's kind of like when you have a normal bacteria that's supposed to live in the throat or live in the colon or live in the intestine. When you wipe that out, another higher pathological bacteria will find that area and take up residence. That's why antibiotics and different things, unless they're used in crucial situations, are so dangerous. So they found, they planted the BT cotton that cut pesticide use by more than 70%, had earnings at 36% higher than farmers planting conventional cotton. By 2004, however, they had to spray just as much conventional farmers, which resulted in a net average income of 8% less than the conventional cotton farmers because BT seed is triple the cost of conventional seed. So the guys getting the money just took off. You see you later. Put it somewhere else. So now they're trying to figure out what they need to do. They stress that secondary pest problems could become a major threat in countries where BT cotton has been widely planted. So they might have to burn all the crops. Oh man, this is, this is way, trans fats. How many trans fats do you need to run your body? None. Zero. None, not at all. None. Uno. Not uno. This is, obviously the FDA is trying to do something now. They should have done this. If you look down here, this doctor right here, he's at the Department of Nutrition for Harvard University Public Health. This guy has been ranting and raving that these artificial trans fats are toxic and they almost surely cause tens of thousands of premature deaths each year, he said. The federal government should have done this a long time ago. This was since the 1940s. This is the article from the New York Times. If they took all of it out, they could save 228,000 heart attacks could be prevented. What's the only problem here? There's almost $20 billion lost because you don't need to be on a statin. This is a drug-free program. USA Weekend March, this is when I did my lecture 2001, so about 5 years ago. This is Harvard nutritionist Walter Willett estimates that eliminating trans fats from all margins, eliminating 3% of breads and cakes, and 15% of cookies and crackers would save up to $59 billion in healthcare costs in the next 20 years, the FDA predicts. And you can replace it with other things and it will taste just as good. That's a major, major problem. Since 1990, the New England Journal of Medicine revealed that after 3 weeks, it elevated cholesterol levels of LDL. That quick, 3 weeks. Oh, you need to be on your cholesterol medication. This is dangerous. This is too high for you. You need to be on your Lipitor, your Zocor, your Mevacor. You elevate it because it was the way you were eating, or you didn't even know. You're just like, you know what? I'm not a good cook. I just like to eat out. I'll just eat out. So 3 weeks, that was in 1990. Okay. All right, let's get to the enzymes. Because enzymes are so important Without enzymes, your body basically can't run. Let's go over enzymes, what they are. They're a class of proteins that catalyze or speed up the chemical reactions of cells. Okay? Metabolism. They give metabolism. They speed things up so things can be used. So you can push nerves. You can push neurotransmitters. There's all kinds of changes that go across the body. But it says the body carries out about 100,000 different chemical reactions, and each requires a specific protein catalyst to speed up and control reactions. Enzymes play a major roles in metabolism. They are required for digestion, energy production, nerve function, muscle contraction, and the regulation of blood pH. They help form all the cell structures such as RNA, DNA, and much more. So basically, what is this definition summed up as saying? You are what you eat. It's that simple. No different. Now, I got these. These are good. These are French fries. These are little French fries. But I can't believe all the cotton candy, the popcorn, the M&Ms. I can't believe how much candy my kids got. It was unbelievable. But these are French fries. All our foods are becoming these foods now, literally. I got a hamburger up here. I'm going to have this for dinner tonight. And I got a hot dog with mustard and ketchup on it. But I think, this is marketing at its best. Just reshape it, make it the same thing, and people are stupid enough to buy it, literally. All right. There's three major categories of enzymes. The main ones that we're going to talk about are the food enzymes, but the food enzymes are basically, without the food enzymes, we're going to talk about digestive enzymes. Food enzymes we're supposed to be getting from our foods, obviously. That's why they name it food enzymes, but a lot of times that's not practical. The reason that's not practical these days, first of all, genetics. Genetics has a lot to do with your digestion. Okay, people don't even realize how weak their genetics uses certain enzymes, and they're not predominant. And you'll find out why later. I'll break down how it works. But food enzymes, obviously, I never discourage anybody from buying organic foods, good foods, healthy foods, the shiny food, maybe the dull foods because those look more normal. The shiny ones have more chemicals on them. But digestive enzymes are probably your most important thing, and it's left to the stomach, the pancreas, and the gallbladder to handle your foods. Those are your three main organs of digestion. And you could talk about the salivary glands and all this thing, but they're all incorporated in. But basically, I like to, try to make it as simple as possible for the patient. I just ask him, what type of foods really bother you? What type of foods have you noticed after you eat them? They cause discomfort, or they cause bloating, or you get a little cranky, or you get a little edgy, because foods can cause motions. Foods are chemicals, literally. They literally are, and people don't understand it. If foods were not chemicals, and foods were just foods, but they're not drugs, but they're chemicals, you wouldn't be getting all these people that are becoming obese. Foods change your metabolism, change your enzymes, change your chemical reactions in your body. So when somebody says you can't use food to run your system, that's probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard, or you need a drug to run your system. And there are some situations where there's an exception, but most of the time, your food's your medicine. It's that simple. If you have trouble digesting your gravies, your spicy foods, your potato chips, your French fries, anything that has fat, that's your gallbladder. Okay? If you have trouble with your proteins, you feel bloated extremely after you eat, then mostly it's probably a certain protein that you're eating. It might be a milk protein, it could be a meat protein, it could be a bean protein. It just depends. So your stomach basically sterilizes your food, It also activates your enzymes. I don't want to make it sound too simple. It's not that simple, but if you break it down this way, it allows me to know the problem a lot quicker. So the stomach really breaks down your proteins a lot of times. The gallbladder breaks down your fats, and then the pancreas's responsibility is to produce all the enzymes that you don't get from your foods because your foods have been fried, cooked, microwaved. You drink alcohol with your food, you smoke, you drink coffee, you drink sugar. These are all indirectly related to how the pancreas is going to mainly respond to how much enzyme is going to be put out so you can digest your fats, so you can digest your stomach. They all work together, but if you divide up, your pancreas is your fruits and vegetables, your stomach is your proteins, and your gallbladder is your fats, to make it real simple. I mean, if you're talking in front of professionals, it would probably, you probably have to break it down more than that, but generally that's how it works. So depending on how many food enzymes you get or how much digestive enzyme you need depends on what type of foods you're eating. Most of the foods that we eat these days are the sugar-laden foods, all the fast-acting sugar things. The biggest thing with the fast-acting sugars are they disrupt the pancreas. They cause the pancreas to produce more enzymes, and also you lose a lot of your water-soluble vitamins, which are mainly your zinc, your thiamine, and a little bit of your sodium chloride, where you need to make hydrochloric acid. So if you do a lot of sugar stuff, you're going to end up having gastritis eventually. Eventually that gastritis, you're going to have problems with your digestion. Your stomach's going to feel awful because you should be producing enough hydrochloric acid. And then what do? Well, you go to your medical doctor and he gives you some medication. Okay? Now he's going to shut down all your acid because he thinks that you have no acid. Or you got too much acid and he wants to make sure you don't have any. Okay? But that's the very opposite of what you want to do. Because what happens is, a lot of times with most of your foods, you got three foods. You got your lipases, or your fats. You got your proteases, or your proteins, and then you got your amylases, or your carbohydrates, that break down each food group itself. Okay, if you have any type of high carbohydrate or alcohol, because alcohol is what? Sugar. Or any other thing that's going to mess with the absorption of your foods or anything, or coffee, what's going to happen is you're going to cause a mild gastritis or a mild swelling in the stomach. And any time that you have a mild swelling in the stomach, you're always going to have hypochlorhydria. You're always going to be hypochloric deficient. Always. It's in all the medical textbooks. I like anybody to challenge me, and I'll tell you the page and where the paragraph is. But with gastritis, it always leads to hypochlorhydria. So I don't see any sense unless you're that 2%, possibly, or 1% of the population where you produce too much hydrochloric acid, and that's a genetic defect. Most of us, we don't have that problem. 98% of us, we don't have any of that. We have it because of our choices, or because of wrong knowledge, or because of somebody talked you into doing it. Okay? So that's really important. So when people talk about gastritis and Prilosec and all these medications, they don't know what they're talking about. There is absolutely no reason for you to be on those. Unless you have a genetic defect. Okay, so just to make that clear, because, well, I feel better. Well, it's not, you don't have to feel better. A lot of times you don't even have a problem, you don't even know you have a problem, and you feel fine. Okay? You're just shutting down your digestion. Now you're not allowing your body to produce HCl, and then now you're not allowing to sterilize your foods, because now you're going to get a bacterial infection eventually. But when people say I've been on Prilosec or Zantac or Nexium or sunitinamide or any of these medications, it doesn't make any sense to me, and it shouldn't make any sense in science. It makes sense from a pharmaceutical sales point. That's all it makes sense in. because they don't know the physiology and they don't know the science behind it. So a balance between our digestive and metabolic enzymes is the main focus for digestive enzymes. Generally, the more digestive enzymes our body must make, the fewer metabolic enzymes are produced. Soon as your body, if you have a lot of enzymes, this is what happens. Your digestive tract is about 30 feet. What it does is it's surrounded by your immune system. You've got lymph systems, you've got all types of white blood cells, but it all gets surrounded. And when that system gets all surrounded, if you don't have the right amount of enzymes in your diet, or you're not supplementing an enzyme, what's going to happen is your immune system has to work 3 to 4 times harder. And you're forcing your immune system to go and scavenge when it doesn't necessarily need to do that. If you have all your food enzymes, your white blood cell count goes down. Your inflammation in your gut goes down. So that's telling you that your immune system and your digestive system are over each other. So anybody that comes in, I'm always looking for something wrong with their digestive system. Always. Because most autoimmune, and I list it all. Now, I've been told this a number of times. I've been told by my nutrition teacher in chiropractic school that enzymes don't get absorbed. You don't absorb them. Your stomach just inactivates them and denatures them, and they don't work. So there's research going back all the way from on the bottom that, so if somebody says, oh, you shouldn't be taking that stuff, doesn't work, by the time it gets to the gut, it doesn't do anything. Well, here's the research that says otherwise. It says that it does, and these people have dedicated their lives to how this gets across certain tissues of your body. So this guy right here, Professor Gilbert, the Department of Physiology at University of Ulm, Germany, indicates that we do, in fact, absorb whole enzymes, the whole thing. Your body actually grabs around it and swallows it. That's what's called pinocytosis. The whole cell grabs it and it carries it in. And so that was Anthony Choke mentioned that, and then this Dr. Gilbert did a lot of research, and Germany has some excellent research on enzymes and inflammation, and there's a lot of things that you could do, but I'm just sticking to the general. Here's another article on entero or gut pancreatic circulation of digestive enzymes. Here's absorption of exogenous, meaning enzymes that you've taken from the outside in, and endogenous proteolytic enzymes, how they react. That was done in 1967, so they know that there was always a therapeutic event that happened when you took enzymes. Here's some research that was done in 1944, American Journal of Physiology, and they said that rats and chickens that were fed cooked foods revealed that the pancreas gland enlarged to handle the extra burden of the enzyme-deficient diet. That, that's great if you're in a situation or you're stranded or something's happening. But for your body to go through this all the time, something's going to go wrong. Just common sense. Hence, the animals got sick and failed to grow. The pancreas is responsible for making and secreting many digestive enzymes. Our pancreas will enlarge when called upon to process more enzymes and digest cooked food. Ruminant animals, such as cattle, goats, deer, and sheep, get along with pancreas about a third as large as ours because of the raw food diet. However, when these animals are fed heat-processed, enzyme-free food, their pancreas enlarged up to 3 times the normal size than when fed on a raw plant diet. So there's some compensation going in, and that's a good compensation. That means that you don't sit back and do nothing about it, but you support it, because if you don't have the right amount of digestive enzymes from the pancreas, what will happen is you have another system in the body where they're called metabolic enzymes that actually run your system, your metabolism. Here's a study by by Nicholas Gonzalez, who has done the foremost research of applying enzymes to cancer therapy. for the last 30 years. In his medical practice in New York, Gonzalez, one of the authors of the study of pancreatic enzyme extract, he suggests the effectiveness of pancreatic enzymes against cancer in mice. The study found mice treated with enzymes survived significantly longer than the control group. Tumor growth in the enzyme-treated group was significantly slowed compared to the control group. In addition, while all mice in the control group showed the conditions of steatorrhea, that's fat in the bowels, high glucose in the urine, or high levels of bilirubin and ketones, it says showed some of these abnormalities at the final stage. But the enzyme-treated group changed. Changed their ketones, changed their sugars, changed their blood work. They decided to give Gonzalez a $1.4 million federal grant for a phase 3 prospective clinical trial of people with pancreatic cancer. This multi-year study is ongoing. Okay? So he's the one that foremost did all the research and applied most of the enzymes to different diseases in the body, especially cancer. Now, we have an enzyme capacity. This enzyme capacity, if you look at this is amylytic. Now, amylytic is amylase. Okay? Amylase does amylytic things. It breaks down carbohydrates. Okay? So amylase breaks down your carbs. So if you look at this, amylytic enzymes are able to degrade up to 300 grams of carbohydrate daily. Is that a lot? That's not a lot at all. Lipolytic enzymes can break down up to 175 grams of fat per hour. I mean, your body's a machine when it comes to fat and tearing things up and breaking up all your adipose tissue and everything. Proteolytic enzymes are capable of breaking down up to 300 grams of protein per hour. That's pretty efficient. Now, well, what does this mean? Well, if your digestive capacity is reduced, your body won't be able to use they'll use more enzymes for digestion than they will for metabolism in the body and to run your DNA and RNA and nerves and cells in your body. So what will happen is your reserves will be used. Because we all have a reserve. This is our reserve level here. So when your reserves get used, you don't have anything to push over to your other side of your immune system or your cardiovascular system or anything like that. So when people say, well, the Atkins diet is a bunch of nonsense, the South Beach diet is a bunch of nonsense, you need good fats, good proteins, this is where the information comes. This is 300 grams. If I did a survey, we went to everybody's house and I took everybody's, what their kids ate every day, I guarantee it's over 300 grams. I mean, it's that bad. We're looking at, that's about a 50% carbohydrate diet. We're not talking about, a donut has about 30 grams of sugar. So you can eat, then you add your little Tic Tac in, then you drink your Coke or your diet soda, and then you have your, your Rice Krispies or your whole grain cereal. It's all sugar. It's just sugar. You're way over. So that means when they tested people, this is Dr. Williams, he's the one that did all this biochemical individuality, he found a 50-fold variation in this enzyme in people's bodies. So if your body can't compensate in that variation, you will be sick. And that's what they found when they tested everybody. They tested all these people in the hospital. And they went to find out amylase was always low when you had a bacterial infection. All your enzymes went down as soon as you got an infection. They were used up that quickly. So that's a really, really important point to stress. A majority of your enzymes that are used in digestion are usually not allowed to be used in the rest of your system because of eating the wrong foods or not supporting your digestion. It's that simple. Sounds like the deficit and savings and borrowing. So we tend to borrow too much when we talk about our digestion, way too much. We don't have any reserves, no savings. So that came right out of Guyton's textbook of medical physiology. But that's why, here's the lipase, 30-fold range. Those are huge, huge variations in normal people that were walking around. So if you give this person McDonald's or you give them Burger King and they're on the low end, what are they going to get? Their thyroid's going to be monkeyed up. Their hair's going to fall out. They're going to get sores. They're going to get fatty tumors. They're going to get fibrocystic breast, uterine myomas. It's all that. What is all that? You don't have enough fat to break the thing down. Here's are all the syndromes common to enzyme deficiency. These are all the syndromes. Here's PMS. The biggest cause of PMS I find in females are they just eat way too much carbohydrate, and a lot of that carbohydrate causes a lot of cramping. Insulin resistance always raises more estrogen, causes your estrogen. And then when you get more estrogen, you put on more fat tissue. And then when you put on more fat tissue, you make more estrogen. It's just a vicious cycle that goes on all the time. So the biggest defect in females today are regulating their sugar levels and their amylase activities in their body. Hot flashes, fatigue, cold hands, feet, neck and shoulders ache, inflammation, back weakness, fungal forms, constipation, high blood pressure, insomnia, parasites, hearing problems, gum disorders, my feet ache, my bladder problem, I got cystitis, acne, skin problems, allergies, psoriasis, there's your skin, chronic allergies. My bowels are stretching, that's diverticulitis with little pockets. Sinus infection, immune depressed condition, I mean, this is everything. Depressed, mood swings, and allergies. Now, this product right here is made by Thermometics, and it's a doctor-grade enzyme. It has to do with amylase. This product was formed to aid in overcoming symptoms of allergies and for the proper digestion of carbohydrates. AMS can also contain enzymes needed to digest proteins, fats, and dairy products. So they put predominantly this enzyme, amylase, at a higher level than normal. So if you eat a lot of carbohydrates, I mean, I don't recommend anybody do that, but let's get realistic here. You've got to offset some of our bad habits that we do. So if you have allergies, cold hands and feet, depression, hey Kim,
Yeah.
can you come up here for a second? Can you pass these out, please? Cold hands and feet, depression. Now I'm going to give you a sheet that explains all this, and you can fill this all out and figure out where you're at with your health. But cold hands and feet, depression, fatigue, headaches, hemorrhoids, low blood pressure, PMS, pancreatitis, skin problems, wheat intolerance, and upset stomach. A lot of times these people have low blood pressures. You know, you can tell by their sugar. I mean, their circulation. It's not iron. It's not their iron levels. It's not their hormone levels. It's that they don't have enough amylase or digesting. And they're finding right now that taking the enzymes, I don't care how you break up wheat, that enzyme binds to the wheat so that it's not even exposed to the immune system and is presented the way it should be. So, I mean, wheat intolerance is huge. Just to tell you how big of a problem it is, there's about 30 to 50 million Americans that are lactose intolerant. I mean, that's only one enzyme. That's a huge. 90%, I think it was 70% of African Americans and Native Americans are deficient in lactase. They can't digest milk. I mean, that is huge. When you look at that number, and then, yeah, we consume a lot of milk, but we consume a lot of other foods too. So I bet you if they started breaking down all these little deficiencies genetically, you'd be surprised how many you can cover. And they've been doing that, and they still are doing that. But this is huge. So if you cover your digestion, a lot of these symptoms, all these symptoms go away. So if you look at your sheet, here's a suggestion for enzyme deficiency. Here's dominant enzyme deficiency type A. That stands for amylase deficiency. You read that, it tells you your cakes, your pies, your breads, your pastas, increase your lean protein, vegetarian, eat high protein plants, soy, beans, a little bit on exercise, and then these are the enzymes that you would use. And then what you can do is you could take that amylase, and what you do is you turn the sheet over, and there's also a section 1, most amylase people gain weight evenly. And then they may hold in the stomach. See, these are a little pot belly. Or you go to section 2, that has to do with your carbohydrates. And then section 3 tells you what you should restrict. And then section 4 gives you all the symptoms up there that you can circle with your problems. And I just highlighted that right there. Okay? So if you're having these problems and you have a lot of wheat intolerances, headaches, you need amylase. Let's go to the next one. Here's a study done on evaluation of pancreatic function. They wanted to know how the pancreatic function was working using pure pancreatic juice in non-insulin dependent, which is type 2 insulin resistant patients. They found that we recommend that careful evaluation. What happened was there was an impairment of pancreatic exocrine secretion, so the pancreas wasn't producing the enzymes that they were supposed to produce. And what happened was this impairment may not be related to insulin deficiency. You might be on insulin and have an enzyme deficiency. God, they don't want you to know that. Therefore, we recommend that careful evaluation of exocrine pancreatic function in type 2 or insulin-resistant diabetics who have clinical suspicious symptoms of pancreatic insufficiency. What are those symptoms? Right up here. Those. Okay? And that came out of the Journal of Clinical Gastroenterology. Okay, here's lipase. Lipase has to do with breaking down your fats. If you look at the lipase, obviously you reduce fat in deep fried foods, you eat complex carbohydrates and lean proteins, you supplement with flax oil, fish oil, or both will help. We have all that at the office. Somebody wants essential oils. I did a lecture on good fats, bad fats, and I talked about all the oils and the conditions and how you want to use the oils. That would be a good lecture to refer to, but we have all these oils at the office. So most of the time with a lipase deficiency, you can't utilize your oils as efficient as you might because of the digestive problem. So using your oils are run in a couple different pathways, and a lot of these pathways do have to do with cancer and inflammation. So your oils are very, very important. And plus, if you don't believe oil is important, I mean, 70% of your brain is fat. I mean, your brain needs lipase to clean up in the crevices in the brain. It needs lipase to clean up in the arteries of your arteries and your veins and your lymph and your kidneys and your liver. So that's why when you look at this, these are mostly lipase deficient problems. Arthritis. Why? Most arthritis people do real well on essential fatty acids because they're controlling the inflammation. If you had lipase, that would amplify that effect. Bladder infection, breast lumps are huge. Oh, they're just huge. Anybody that drinks coffee, teas, colas, or chocolates, or has that fibrocystic breast or feels their breast change with that, have a lipase deficiency. Okay? You might say, well, it's my coffee. Well, that's expressing a lipase deficiency in your body. Breast tumors, prostate problems, breast and prostate go together, different gender. Cirrhosis of the liver, that's a fatty liver. Gallbladder problems, good golly, how many people have had their gallbladder out? That's the #1 surgery, besides hysterectomies, because females have too many fibroids. Where's my fibroid? They have too many breast lumps. Same breast lumps that are in the breast are also uterine myomas or fibroids in the uterus. So when you have your period and you can't stop bleeding, it's probably that fibroid in your uterus. So these are all fat problems. Why is fat or lipase such an issue? Because of estrogen dominance. We're exposed to so much estrogen, and that's where the Vitanox comes in. To clear estrogen, help you digest your fat so you can utilize your fats more efficiently. Here's your eczema, cystic, gallbladder, gallstones, hay fever, jaundice, that just, you know, your gallbladder's not working anyway. Hives, and then hepatitis. Okay? So if you look at that, in section 1, these people carry their weight in hips and thighs. Okay, big hips and thighs. All right, next one. Here's an article that came out of Tufts University. They say lipase is an essential enzyme for anyone who is interested in losing weight because it naturally dissolves fat. Tufts University is one of the many institutions that conducted tests showing obese people and fat tumors lacked lipase. Okay? So if you hold it here, it's lipase. Or you have it here, fatty tumors here. All right, this is PRX. This has to do with protein digestion. This is a big one. Protein digestion. Your body has a great capacity to digest proteins, but I believe the problem is that a lot of times we're eating when we're not hungry. You know, everybody, I always explain it. You got two systems, sympathetic, parasympathetic. Parasympathetic is your feed and breed. Okay? Especially feed has to do with your all your enzymes that are actually secreted when your parasympathetic is activated. That's when you eat. But if you're in a sympathetic mode, that's your go, go, go. All your digestion is shut down. All your blood gets diverted to the rest of your periphery, head, your thinking, your running. That's your fast action stuff. So a lot of people have a problem going in and out of that system. That's why they don't want you, to jump in the pool after you ate, because all your blood's going to go to your gut. Nothing's going to go to your muscles. So that's what's going to happen. So proteins, so important. Most of these, fibrin. What's fibrin? Fibrin's a protein filament. So it's a protein structure. So if your proteolytic enzymes or your protein enzyme levels aren't high enough, and you're using all your proteolytic enzymes for your digestion, and you're not sparing any for your metabolism, you could easily have coagulation problems or fibrin, or fibrocystic. That's why I call it fibrocystic breast. Fibrin. So protein metabolism is so important. Ear infections, herniated disc. That's all. Your disc is a protoglycan, a protein and a sugar. So when you're not absorbing enough proteins, your body's going to be in a catabolic state. It's going to be a rundown state, arthritic state, neuritis state. Your discs are going to start breaking down. You're not going to be able to hydrate your discs. Dehydration, catabolic state. But when your protein levels and your enzymes are high enough, that puts you in an anabolic state. Anabolic means build, grow, support, develop. So that's why low backaches, osteoporosis, hearing, Osteoporosis is not a excess of protein. You do not get osteoporosis from an excess of protein. They just came out with that information. They said, man, the more a female ate protein, the better she built her bone. The more phosphorus you use, build bone. Because proteins and phosphorus are found in the same foods. Okay, so proteolytic enzymes are very, very important. Kidney diseases, autoimmune diseases. What are autoimmune diseases? All inflammatory diseases. Those are all bad proteins released. All degradative proteins that your body's trying to handle and it can't handle. The only way you're going to clean that mess up, is, you got to pour the enzymes on the stuff to dissolve it. I was always fascinated when it's cool how nature and balance works. And I was watching this one show on the oil spills. I mean, these oil spills, and it's just awful on the animals and stuff. But I was interested. Within a week, there was already a bacteria dissolving the oil on the beaches that the oil washed up on, which is kind of neat. It was a natural selective bacteria that started dissolving the oil and cleaning up the environment. You could do the same thing with proteases. There are so many different theories on MS, multiple sclerosis, viruses, there's bad immune system, all kinds of stuff. This was a practical approach that could very well be involved with a lot of different MS patients. I'm not saying MS is caused by this specific thing, because we don't even know diabetes is not caused by this specific thing, or cancer is not caused by this specific thing. There's a lot of variables involved. But this was a cool breakdown of something they put as a medical hypothesis. They're like, wait, this just came out. They said abnormal hormonal control of the gut hydrolytic enzymes. Now, hydrolytic enzymes are your enzymes that your pancreas produces to break down your proteins, to break down your fats, to break down. They're just choppers. They're breaking down your peptides. But they found that these hydrolytic enzymes causes autoimmune attack on the central nervous system by production of immune, mimic, and other molecules. A comprehensive explanation for the induction of multiple sclerosis. So could multiple sclerosis literally be an enzyme deficiency? It's usually caused in autoimmune. They're saying that the central nervous system attacks the myelin. Myelin's the sheath that covers the nerve up in the brain. A microorganism containing a mimic of an immunogenic region of the myelin protein initiates the autoimmune process. However, no specific MS microorganisms has been found. There has been a couple as far as for sexually transmitted diseases, but that's about it. Hypothesis is presented that an autoimmune process is started by abnormal proteolytic digestion of these bacteria. The central nervous system proteases are also under rigid control, and these control processes are the same as in the gut. There's surgeries out there. There's a surgery out there that, most people don't like to talk about, but it's a transposition of the omentum. There's a fat that covers a certain part of your intestine that hangs out there. Now, when you do surgery, what they do is they go in and try to pull that fat and put it in where that surgical procedure was done, because it's got vessels, it's got a good fat supply, and it helps in promoting healing. Well, what they've suggested was that you take this omentum and you pull it over the brain. And it's doing very well for Alzheimer's because you're increasing the circulation, you're getting the good fat. The omentum's all fat and blood vessels, which is kind of neat. So they're doing it. They're trying to do it in. And there's a couple. Julian Whitaker had a newsletter out that I was reading in the. It was in 1996, and he talked about all the cases where spinal deformities.
Yeah.
You remember reading that?
Yeah. And they come out with spinal cord injury and repair.
They wrap it right around that injury. And now they're getting sensation in the legs, feeling. I don't know if anybody's walked, but I mean, they're regrowing that system. So therefore, MS, clinical activity, is a result of improper hydrolytic or breakdown in the brain-gut axis caused by an abnormal hormone variation. So it very well could be just as simple as a digestive problem. You know, and also a lot of the MS is not uncommon for them to see, obviously, autoimmune diseases, but there's a lot of autoimmune diseases that are caused by your wheat allergies, or you got your non-tropical sprue, you got your wheat allergies, and whatever's that protein for wheat can also cause calcification in the pineal gland up there. There's a pineal gland that has to do with melatonin and daylight stuff, but they've also had sclerosing of the nerves. So MS could very well be related to an abnormal breakdown of protein from wheat. So I thought that was interesting.
Doctor?
Yes. Question.
Is it possible that genetically modified foods could contribute to these problems?
There's no doubt that they play a major role in it. But the problem is where is your capacity of the body to meet those demands? And that's the point I wanted to stress, is everybody has, even though we all look different on the outside, we have different variations. I mean, we're all unique. So that is a very, yes.
How many, do you have any idea how long that we have been treated to genetically modified foods?
You know what, I don't even know. Thank you for the suggestion. That could be a lecture in the future. I mean, there's so much different information on genetically modified things. You don't even know anymore. Soy's a big one.
I heard that they were putting a fish gene in tomatoes, so that a cool water fish gene, so that tomatoes wouldn't freeze.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yep. And I read the one about the corn.
Yes.
The corn, and they had to burn all the corn because it didn't work. That was in the 60s, I think. But yeah, that would be a good suggestion for a lecture, is all this genetically modified. But it all goes down to how your body and how your enzymes are tagging these different chemicals that enter your body. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Whether you have the ability to neutralize what's coming into your body. Here's a combination. If you have a lot of the combination things and you have a secondary, if you fill this sheet out, it tells you how to do that, and then you put them right here. But combination people, they similar since teens, slim, trim, heavy. I mean, it's just a combination of things. Combination really, if you're allergic to milk or you have a milk sensitivity, you fall into combination. Because not only do you need, lactase, but you need galactase. You need there's another sugar in milk. They need to be broken down. There's a lot of people that are deficient in that one too. Okay, so it might not be lactase, it might be the galactase. So chronic allergies, colitis, diarrhea, so that's just basically really involved digestive system problems. Crohn's disease, which is ulcers along the inside lining of your intestines. Milk intolerance, irritable bowel syndrome. That again could be up with the gallbladder. But these are all complementary things that you can do, and we treat different issues in the body. A lot of times I like to use AF beta food for the gallbladder. And once you get the gallbladder going, then you can add the LPS to help support and continue with that gallbladder. So there is a timing factor that goes on with the enzymes and when you want to use them. I mean, if you're in an acute stage, you probably don't want to use them right away. You want to do something, to help the healing process along. And then when you get things back to normal, then you assist the body. So it just depends. Everybody's situation's different. But what I like about these are vegetable enzymes, and these enzymes work in a broad range of pH activity. So even if you might be mildly, hypochlorhydric, meaning low hydrochloric acid, there's still a great variation. You only need a little bit that it works. So it works in a real broad range, and it's there's a lot of slack in how it can help you, without digesting it or breaking it down. And it inactivates it, but it's always vegetables work good to activate, because sometimes you have stomach acid, it gets inactivated, but when it hits the lower or the first part of the small intestine, the duodenum, where a lot of people get duodenal ulcers, that's the area where you want this to be activated. So it does get activated, and it happens a lot more when you use a plant enzyme. In Dr. Gonzalez's research, that's probably one of the highest points of enzyme therapy is, one of the cancers you don't get is duodenal cancer. Because you're always turning over and dissolving and getting rid of, because the enzymes, where the duct from the pancreas comes down, that's where all the enzymes are released. So it's very hard, or I think it's even impossible to get duodenal cancer. Here's an article that I pulled out on hormone metabolism, and this says that in type 1 diabetes, it says they have reduced pancreatic exocrine function, supporting the concept of a local paracrine effect of insulin on pancreatic. Okay, further studies are needed to determine the clinical impact of the deficiency and whether such patients with type 1 diabetes would benefit from therapy with pancreatic enzyme supplementation. So what they're saying is it even helped support type 1 diabetics. I mean, obviously we need to do more research, but I don't know about you, but there's not much being done about type 1 diabetics except putting insulin pumps around their belts and in their bodies and doing stuff. So this therapy is very, very approachable from a bunch of different ways, and to integrate into your life and see if it makes a change. It's not going to be, it's not devastating if the therapy, doesn't work, or if it helps you just a little bit. I mean, that's a success. Here's the high standards for the company. It's a doctor's line. There's no fillers. It's important to understand FCC. It's the only nationally recognized standards for enzyme products, only. Additionally, we use no fillers in our products, so we are able to provide you with high potency products in smaller capsules, as well as eliminating completely the potential of allergy or intolerance to common fillers, dairy, preservatives, salt, sucrose, soy, wheat, yeast, or artificial flavors or colors that may be included in the products of our competitors. Okay? So they got a standard. This is standardized. People think herbs are standardized in America. They're not. If they were so standardized, they wouldn't be in a proprietary blend. Okay? Should be able to break down everything sequentially of what you're getting, not in a blend. You don't know, what is a blend? Just stick it all in a blender and just push the button. Here's our facts over your supplement order stuff. So, questions? Any questions? You have the testing sheets here. There. I want to test Maureen Cahill. Come on up here, Maureen. Do you want to get tested?
I think so.
Do you have back pain?
Yeah, I do.
All right, come on up this way. Make sure you don't trip over the cord. Where does your back bother you?
Lower back.
The whole thing? Come on over here. Let's test her. Apple cigarette. All right, stand up for me. Let's see. Do you have a good, strong arm? What about your right arm? Hold strong. Let's see. Hold as tight as you can. Is your shoulder all right? Good. She's strong. Apple for hold strong. Hold tight. Good. Cigarette. Hold tight. So she's a good tester. So let's go over her back. Now, from what we talked about, what's important about back pain? Digestion? Digestion. Most people, as you get older, you lose your digestive capacity. Okay, so most of your proteins in your bodies break down. And you get more breakdown enzymes than build-up enzymes, and that's what happens at a metabolic level, and it causes scarring and dehydration and calcification and all kinds of stuff. So that's the first thing. A general digestive aid. Did you fill that sheet out there? Did you see anything that kind of... All right, so let's test her without filling anything out, and we'll see what we come up with. Hold strong. Let's go salt. Hold strong. All right, and there's the first thing right there, okay? We don't have to go any further. That's the first thing, her salt. Do you salt your food?
No, I don't.
No. So her salt's level. Why is your salt important? Salt is what you need to make hydrochloric acid. Every the first, are you tired?
Sometimes.
Wow. That's kind of a loaded question. When I did my lecture on fatigue, the two biggest things that I found reading into this stuff for fatigue was proteins, not enough proteins, and salt was low. So protein deficiency and not having enough salt are the two biggest causes of fatigue. I know you don't. That's why this reflex is active on you. That's your dehydration reflex. If you look, her skin's drying out a little bit.
We use baby oil, but it's still that.
Yeah, we're going to have baby oil for you from the inside out. Hold strong. Good. So she's fine on that. So what I do, the calamo is the one, it's an acid salt. It's a mild acidifier, so it shouldn't bother her stomach, but she's going to do it with food anyway. So calamo. So I take her calamo, hold strong. I put that right on top of her head, because if you look, there's a dehydration reflex right here, cerebral spinal fluid lymph reflex. That's your master salt. So right on top of the head, that's your lymph system. When your lymph system gets low or you test for that reflex, your salt levels are too low. So you're losing it. This is like finding your car on the side of the road, your radiator is overheated. You can, you sweat, but you don't sweat. You just perspire, but you don't, I don't even feel wet. Those are the type of things that happen. A lot of men have this with prostration problems with prostate. Prostration is the word that comes from sweating. So men that have prostate problems always sweat. They sweat at night. They're always hot. But she has her salt's low. So when her salt's low, her lymph system will be low. And when your lymph system or your salt's low, and we ain't separating those. This is probably the only pill you got to know about that if you leave it open, it will stick together after 3 months. This is about 10 years old. So we're going to test that on her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 6, 7. She needs 6 calamo, 3 twice a day, and she needs to do that with food for a month. Yep, and that will help, first of all, to make hydrochloric acid. Second of all, to acidify your body so you can digest your proteins. And third of all, make you feel better, because salt is what your adrenals need to survive. Now, I'm not talking about TV dinner salt. This is not TV dinner salt. What makes, when you eat it, it makes your fingers swell up and your toes and all kinds of stuff. Okay? This is ammonium chloride, not sodium chloride. It's totally different. This is the salt that your adrenals thrive on. Okay? So when you have a salt craving, it's not for table salt, which is an alkaline salt. It's for ammonium chloride salt, which is an acid salt. So this will help with her lymph system, and keeping yourself acidified with a good salt also will help her raise her white blood cell count and help with her immune system. Because when your lymph system's bad, you can't carry garbage away. You can't carry stuff away. She never salts anything. We're going to salt you. And the mortality rate, the less people salted, the higher the mortality rate went up. From the research. So she needs salt. That's the first thing she needs. Let's hold that. And then let's turn that off. Let's see if we can find something else. Something as simple as that could make the biggest difference, and people don't understand. They'll overlook it and overlook it. God, I'm feeling dizzy. I'm feeling lightheaded. They'll check your blood sugar. They'll check your medication. They'll put you on some anti-nausea medication. It's just salt. Here's your brain. That's good. You've been happy? Are you sleeping through the night?
No, I'm waiting. I get up a couple times.
Now, what causes you to get up a couple times? Yeah, probably go to the bathroom, but what else makes you get up?
Stiffness.
No, your lack of protein. Your blood sugar. Your blood sugar wakes you up. You want to get that peanut butter and jelly sandwich or that glass of milk, that milk sugar with the milk protein that makes you go back to bed.
Sometimes I do drink a glass of milk.
Dr. Krygier,
Yeah.
when you get ammonium chloride salt, what kind of salt is that?
From Cal-Ammo. That's the
the only
convertible
place you
pump.
can get it?
What?
Is that the only place you can get it from?
Yeah.
How about in foods? What foods? do
Well,
they
probably
use?
your seafood, fish. Yeah.
My dad was an old-time doctor, 40s and 50s and 60s. He retired after 55 years of medical practice, and the ammonium chloride was what he gave out for colds, lots of things. They called them Doc's little brown pills. Took that with PACs or APCs, which is now acetaminophen, and that just knocked anything out. I'm glad to know where to get it, because it was a wonder drug back then.
Oh, it still is. It's wonderful. Yep, so that's Cal-Ammo. Good, that's all we're going to do on her. Now, if she takes her salt and acidifies her, now she'll be able to digest her proteins. That will help with her discs and her cartilage and the linings of her organs and all that stuff. That's something very, very simple that will be overlooked, and she'll get dizzy, she'll fall over and be like, oh my God, I broke my hip. It was all from dehydration. You ran out of your fluids, and now you're in the hospital because you broke your hip, your heart's bothering you, your electrolytes are all screwed up now. I mean, when you see and you think beyond the normal situations every day, it's crazy how something simple can just mess everything up. Okay?
Can I buy that salt from you?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, we're going to get it to you.
Okay.
All right, thank you for coming up here. She'll write it down for you. There you go.
It's a standard process.
All right. Does anybody not understand CRA, contact reflex analysis, the muscle testing? Here's a video of Dr. Versendahl that did it. He did it with a PhD, 2 medical doctors, and a psychologist that have been supporting him for a number of years. And it just gives just a brief synopsis and just an interview from a bunch of medical doctors and the research they did in the field of this type of muscle testing. Is anybody else not familiar with CRA?
Dr. Krieger,
Does anybody want to take that first hand up right there? Yes, question?
I was going to ask you if I could borrow it. So.
Yeah, I got one for you. I'll get you one. You're welcome. Other than that, I hope I see you at my next lecture.